I mentioned this yesterday, and I wanted to emphasize it because I can't Washington, I don't know the last time that at any point in the season, at least a couple of games into the season, that they were the number one rush offense, yards per game in the league. They've had teams where they've been very good rushing teams, clearly. Some of the Portis teams, even with Gibbs. The 2012 team. The 2012 team, though, was not the number one rush offense in the league. I don't think it was. I'm going to go back and check that. Um, the number one rush offense. Oh, it was. So that was the last time. All right. They finished number one in rushing yards per game in 2012. I just found the answer. I thought that they were top 5 with RG3. They were number one in 2012. So it's been 13 seasons since Washington was ranked as, and I don't think it's happened even in season. Last year, they were certainly in the top 3, top 4 for pretty much the bulk of the season, but they weren't number one offensively last year. They finished, by the way, in terms of yards per game, they finished third. But remember, the Ravens were way up there. They averaged 187.6 yards per game. The Eagles were second. Washington was at $154 a game and finished third. But they are currently the number one rush offense in the NFL. 156.4 yards per game. They're also the number one average yards per carry team in the league at 5.9 yards per game. But the disconnect here is that the time of possession numbers are terrible. Typically, the top ranked rush offenses in the NFL are also very high on the time of possession number. And Washington currently is 28th in the league in time of possession. They're averaging 27 minutes, 19 seconds a game in time of possession. Whereas the number 2 rush offense in the NFL, Buffalo, is the number 1 time of possession team in the league. The number, hold on for 1 second. The number 5 rush offense in the league, the Atlanta Falcons, they're the number 2 time of possession in the league. Detroit is the number 7 rush offense in the league. They're number 3 in time of possession. So more often than not, if you are a top rush offensive football team, and obviously I think most of you understand the idea is that if you're running the football, the clock's running, and if you're converting on third downs, you're staying on the field. 156.4 yards per rushing yards per game should equate to something like in the top 5 in time of possession, but it doesn't. It's 28th. That's a massive disconnect from what you typically see. And the reason for that is the defense can't get off the field. And in the last 2 games in particular, going back to the Atlanta game, they were doubled up at halftime, if you recall. Doubled up. It was like 20-10 time of possession. The play count was way off. That game ended 34 minutes and 15 seconds to 25-45 for Washington. And then on Sunday against the Chargers, first half, not exactly doubled up, but nearly doubled up in the first half. And most of that happened in the first quarter and a half when Washington gave up 179 yards on the first 3 drives before the fumble. And again, 34 minutes, 19 seconds, 25-41. The play differential, the Chargers had 10 more offensive snaps in the game. Atlanta had 13 more offensive snaps in the game. And then you go back to the Green Bay game, and that was pretty ugly as well. It was 33-27, basically, in time of possession. Washington gained in the second half with that. But if that changes, if the defense can improve just a little bit, if they can have, like, even the great pass rush the other day didn't equate to getting off the field enough in that football game. A lot of it was in the first half, but the Chargers were 9 of 16 on third down. Okay, that is not a rate in which you want to allow. 9 for 16. And look, in the second half with the 20-10 lead, They played a lot of bend, don't break on that long drive that ended in interception. 14 plays, 53 yards, 7 minutes and 12 seconds. They gave up one third down conversion after another until the third and goal. Suter said to me yesterday, he said, you saw the formula for Washington defensively this year. He's like, he does not think that there's a chance that they're going to become, a true lockdown man coverage team. And he's not even convinced that they'll be a good zone coverage team. But he said if they can get the lead in these games and Armstrong and Kinlaw and company can rush the passer and they can sit back in zone behind it, bend, don't break. That's the formula defensively for having some success. The problem with that is you're going to give up some time of possession. You're going to give up a 14-play, 53-yard, 7-minute, 12-second drive, which is what they gave up to the Chargers before getting the turnover on third and goal. And if they can make plays like the Quan Martin play, like the Johnny Newton Sanders still play at the goal line, and they can sit back and play more zone coverage and have that pass rush be effective, that probably is the best formula for keeping the chunk plays down. They're going to give up a lot of underneath on 3rd and 6 to Keenan Allen, 3rd and 9 to Quentin Johnston, 3rd and 7 to Keenan Allen. They're going to give up a lot of that stuff against good teams that are going to shred their zone coverage. But as long as they keep everything in front of them and they've got a lead and they've got a pass rush, that's the formula for winning more games than losing. Because I think we've seen man coverage tends to be a disaster for them. They just don't seem to be on the same page. Even in zone coverage, they're not on the same page enough. But Caleb Williams and the Bears, he's been playing better. It's a creative offensive coordinator, head coach, not an offensive coordinator anymore, Ben Johnson, head coach. The Bears have, the ability, offensive line-wise, although there was an injury, they're really good tackle Darnell Wright, the kid from Tennessee, who I'm convinced in the 2023 draft, had he fallen, Washington would have been all over him. They wanted and really liked Darnell Wright, but Wright is banged up. We'll see. Maybe you get, for a fourth time this year, you get a team in whose offensive line is a bit injured. Wright's played well. Jonah Jackson's on that line. Thuney's been outstanding for them. And then they've got weapons, they've got DJ Moore, and Adunze's having a really good season. By the way, Zacchaeus is in Chicago. If you didn't know that, Luther Burden, a rookie from Missouri, I would have loved him for us. He's had some moments. They still have Cole Kmet. They have the rookie Loveland from Michigan at tight end. They've got talent on that team. This is a little bit like the Atlanta game, although there's no Bijan Robinson. Okay, so that's the good news. DeAndre Swift is not Bijan Robinson. Not many people are. But this is a team that has a lot of talent, and they just have a quarterback that hasn't figured it out yet. With Caleb Williams has more starts than Penix Jr., but that's the question mark. Penix Jr. got healthy against Washington, looked really good, picked us apart. Can Caleb Williams do that? Maybe if their offensive line's banged up, maybe if they don't have Darnell Wright on Monday night. It's going to be, from an offensive standpoint, the numbers that I gave you, the rush offense. The second part of that is Chicago has the 31st ranked rush defense, right? 28th per DVOA. Washington's first in yards per game, 5th in overall DVOA rush offense. This would appear to be an obvious, we got to run the football against Chicago. Run the football, keep your defense off the field, and, close out these drives. And with Jaden, I think you got a much better chance of closing them out with touchdowns more often than not, although guys like Chris Moore need to catch the football when it's thrown to them.